He said, "Can you hear me now?" I don't know. It is 9:39.
Can you hear me now, A?
Welcome back to CW Iowa Live. Lou and Jackie here, along with a good friend, Michael Jenkins. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing great.
Good. Getting ready for the end of the year?
Yep, time to look at people's finances and see what's going on.
This is kind of the time of year where people really start looking, right? The holiday season's around here, the New Year's around the corner. So are people looking more now than they ever have throughout the rest of the year?
I think people are more interested in spending right now.
Yeah, than looking at the finances.
And that's where you come into play, because there are some people you might want to pull the reins back on, the reindeer reins back on.
I think after they spend too much, they're starting to think about maybe calling me.
Right. Yeah. That's when people want to know your phone number.
Do you get busier in January, right after the holidays, when the bills start coming in?
I do get busier. More often it's because it's for people that have seen me probably in the last 6 months, and they're going to be getting a tax refund and they know it, so now they've got some money to file. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it does also, after the holidays pass, it tends to also pick up people kind of take stock of their finances and figure out that things aren't going so good.
All right.
And maybe they need to do something.
Right. So we want to make sure everyone knows how to get in touch with you, but specifically, what do we want to discuss today?
Well, it's the end of the year, and I thought it would be a good idea to talk about people kind of taking stock of their finances and figuring out where they're at. I don't know that a lot of people do that, and they probably should. I mentioned tax refunds. A lot of people will be getting pretty good tax refunds, and that's often a good source of money to be able to pay the lawyer, because for many people it's the only time of the year they actually have some money.
A little money in their
pocket. When they get the tax refund. And so, you know, it's an opportunity, if they're struggling with their debt, that they could at least afford to pay for a bankruptcy rather than squander the money. A lot of people we see will have spent their $3,000 or $4,000 tax refund by quote unquote catching up their debts. So all of a sudden the credit card payments that have been making, or the credit card companies that have been making the most noise, they'll start giving all that tax refund to those people, keep them quiet.
Right.
And then they've got to caught up with these, and now they just start making the monthly payments. But it's probably not something they can really sustain, so they may have wasted that good chunk of money.
So you might be going back to square one, as opposed to handling the debt with a lawyer that knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a good idea, and this is, even if you're not struggling with your debts, it's just a good idea to kind of look the years over, kind of see where you're at financially. So I kind of outlined some things that's a good idea to do. Number one, I would suggest, especially if you're struggling with your debts, sit down maybe for the first time, because the first time that people sit down and look at their debts sometimes is when they come to see me and go, oh my God, I didn't even realize there were this many.
Right.
So open up the envelopes, write down all the companies, the names, the balances, and the monthly payments, and get that list together, and then add up how much all those monthly payments are on your credit cards, your signature loans, if you're paying on medical bills, and get a total. The next thing you need to do is kind of take stock of how much money did you make this year.
Right.
It just drives me crazy when I ask somebody, how much money did you make last year, and I get a blank stare. I don't know. I mean, some people just don't really, I don't know if they don't care. They file their tax returns, they sign them, but they can't tell me how much they earned.
Could it be because they're hourly and it changes constantly?
Well, they get a W-2.
Well, that's true. It says what you made. That's true. No excuses. That tells you. Yep.
So the thing you should do, if you worked at the same job all year, take your last paycheck where all the year-to-date information's on it. It's got your whole gross for the whole year. Subtract out all the taxes year-to-date. That's all laid out on your paycheck. Subtract out all the insurance that was taken out. Subtract out your 401k or your IPERs or any other retirement funds that were taken out of your check. And that's going to be what you netted out for the year. After everybody got their hands into your paycheck, you're left with how much money they actually paid you. Divide that number by 12. Then compare it to what those monthly payments are that you're shelling out, and see how much of that's going there. Now the next important thing to write down is, what do you spend just living every month to month? So write down your living expenses. Don't count the debt payments to the credit card companies or the signature loans or the medical bills, just your necessary expenses.
Like gas.
You start out with your rent or your house payment.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
Number one. Then the utilities kind of come next. It's kind of hard to heat the place if you don't have money. Then and that counts cell phones and satellite television.
Right.
You got to eat, so make sure you put in your monthly grocery bill, and that includes what you spend at Walmart for the shampoo and toothpaste and toilet paper and all those things. And if you got kids, that's the diapers and all that stuff. Then take out an amount for clothes. I know you don't spend money on clothes every month, but in the course of a year, your family has to buy clothes. So just estimate an amount, divide it by 12 if you need to. Then you start taking out things for the car, your gasoline to fill up the gas tank.
Right.
You got car registration, and then just general maintenance. You have to get oil changes. If you got some miles on the car, you may have to do things here and there. So just figure out some money that you're going to have to spend on that and put it per month. Then you need to put down car insurance if you're paying for life insurance. If you got kids and you got daycare, write that down. Maybe a little bit for entertainment because everybody does something.
Right.
You're living a life. Your religious contributions, if you make a donation to your religious organization, church, synagogue, whatever, if some people give a fixed percent. So then add all that stuff up. That's what you're spending every month. And you better compare that to how much your monthly take-home was from the W-2 after you divided that net by 12. If there's no money left and those expenses that you were adding up for your monthly payments on the credit cards are totaling $600, $700, $800 a month, you got a big problem because you don't have any money to pay them.
Right.
You've been paying them maybe with your credit cards. You would sit there and buy your groceries with your credit cards, buy your clothes with your credit cards, buy everything with your credit cards, and then you got no money left, and you don't have any payments you can make. So you're just charging things because you've run out of money paying everything else.
Right.
So that's when you need to take stock and maybe call a bankruptcy lawyer because you're out of money. You've looked at the situation. You don't have enough money to pay what you need to pay. You barely have enough to survive paying your regular monthly expenses if you don't use credit cards to pay them. And then that's when you need to start looking, maybe I should file bankruptcy, at least talk to a guy about it. Think about the fact you're going to be getting a tax refund maybe, and you can use that to pay for it. When you go see the lawyer, it's also important to ask questions about, will I be able to keep my tax refund if I haven't gotten it before I file? Because there's limits.
Right.
And so timing can be important. Should I file my bankruptcy before my refund, or do I need to wait until I've gotten the money and get it spent on things and then file? And if you're going to ask questions at this time of year about what you should do, bring your tax return to your bankruptcy appointment so the attorney can take a look and see what happened last year, and so he can have a basis to give you good advice. Because if you have a really big tax refund, $6,000, $7,000, there's usually a good reason for it. It's usually going to be a low-income family with children. They probably have a whole bunch of earned income credit on there.
Got it.
And you get to protect all that earned income credit part of your tax refund when you file bankruptcy. So, it just depends, but the attorney's not going to be having a basis to say, yeah, you should wait or no, you shouldn't, if they don't know what your tax refund's going to consist of.
Right.
Now, when we have people bring things in for the first appointment, we don't say, bring your tax return, because we don't know what the person's situation is. But if you're going to be asking questions about is something going to happen to my tax refund, bring your tax return along whether they ask for it or not, and then at least you can discuss that during the first appointment and make plans for what you want to do and be prepared, because there's nothing worse than when someone is expecting to be able to keep several $1,000s and then they're told by the bankruptcy trustee, well, you're going to have to give us a couple $1,000s of that money. They may have gotten to keep a couple thousand, but that's a lot of money to sacrifice.
That
and
is.
usually we can plan for these things, and at least for my clients, it's very rare that they have to give up any of their tax refund, because it's an important thing this time of year to talk about, and it goes into bankruptcy planning and just helping the people along. And for many, waiting isn't that big of a deal. I mean, you've waited this long, so if you wait another couple months till you get your money, it's not the end of the world.
All right, now how busy are you getting this time of year? I would imagine that your phone's ringing off the hook.
Well, I'm really busy right now, and historically December isn't the busiest of months, but I'm busy this month, so I'm not complaining about it, and I don't know what the reason for it might be, but I think it's just one of those things. But usually things tend to slow down for many people just because of the holidays, and people are thinking about other things and not about their debts necessarily. So But yeah, it's still important though. People just need to plan for their situations and at least be aware of what they're getting themselves into.
Take an assessment of what the situation is.
Well, like you said, do a little bit of homework, and it's worth a phone call to find out if that's the right path for you, so you don't throw away your tax refund.
Exactly, because it's a free consultation. You can ask questions if you just want to call on the phone. So that, there's no sense on just running around doing things and then regretting it later on.
Yeah, get some answers to some important questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's make sure everybody knows your phone number so they can get in touch with you after they do get their finances in order and say, okay, how can you help? Well,
you can call me at 255-1855, or if your phone's not available, you can find us on the internet at www.iowa-bankruptcylaw.com.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks. Important information this time of year.
All right, it's 8:51 right now, and we will be right back. You are watching CW Iowa Live in West Des Moines.